an affair where you got to be who you are. And who I am, I'm a lover of music. Love Chuck Brown, love Essence. Y'all might don't know, but them names you might don't know. Hot, cold sweat. I take that way back. That's way back. That's way back. But anyway, you know what I mean? But I like BDP. Front, my man Future right now. That's my man right now. He be saying, you know what I mean? His melody, he don't be saying nothing. You know, he don't mumble rap, he don't be saying nothing. But it just be the melody. He just be doing something, you know, with the melody. I'm a fan of music, you know, and let me say something. Before I go any further, first and foremost, I rise giving praise to the great God of the universal law. I give honor to his noble, illustrious prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'm telling you, he saved my life, and he can save yours by the will of Allah. The wisdom cannot be matched. It is what it is. But back to what I was saying. We need to learn to live our life with who we are as it relates to the positive side of who we are. Y'all know we are rhythmic people. Y'all know that. You know what I mean? Legends and all those stuff, and then want to get all stiff. You know, I know how you do. I know how you do. Now you can't dance. You can't listen to certain music. You can't do this. You can't do that. Tell you something. I don't subscribe to all that foolishness, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches me that customs do not alter the nature of truth. The custom that Chuck Brown on here, I want y'all to enjoy it with me. If y'all are there, let your children dance a little bit. Because you might have to give them a history lesson on Chuck Brown. That's Chuck Brown and the Soul Searchers. Black Light, look it up. Now, look it up. Black Light, that's Chuck Brown. I'm telling you, Chuck Brown got a whole, man, he got a catalog. He got over 30, 40 years. Groove. We call that groove. We like back then, like, man, I was grooving. We call that grooving. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell you, Chuck Brown, man, to get you pumped up. But not only Chuck, it's quite a few. Man, Little Bitty, rest in power, Little Bitty. You know, no Bitty and the Masters. Y'all can look this stuff up. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't got to be all stiff. Y'all put y'all fez on. Y'all tie y'all ties all tight and all that stuff. Loosen them ties up a little bit. Loosen them britches up. That's my grandma. Loosen your pants up a little bit. Relax. It's okay. You don't got to be super scholar every day. It's okay to take off this scholar hat and just be the rhythmic person you are. As somebody said in the chat, you know what I mean? Just be you. Like my brother said in the chat, the groovers, Northeast groovers. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's okay to be you. And that's me. You don't like it. It is me. I love it. I'm having a good time. I'll tell you, the moment that I woke up and I found out that I ain't got to be somebody else, it saved my life. All praise be to Allah. And honor to the prophet. It saved my life when I found out that I was being somebody else and people ain't like me anyway. I was being somebody else, right? Back in the day, I was being somebody else, and it got me in some things. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I was doing some things, and it got me in some things. You know what I mean? Somebody else. And somebody didn't like that. And it cost me in a big way. The piece together. I'm gonna write a book, so I ain't to tell y'all everything. You know what I mean? Because I need to get this financing so I can pay for this world tour and going around and teach people, to instruct people, which brings me to the point right now. Brother on the show tonight, and man, I hope y'all can stay and listen for the duration on the show. We're gonna be here for about an hour, hour and a half. I'm telling you. When I first really heard this brother, the brother noticed me in DC, and I had the place where I remember him from, but he had seen me at another event in Annapolis. But this is what active Moors do. This is what active people do. They see active people at other events. You know, the brother, like, you don't even remember me, do you? You was at Troy X event. I said, yeah, that was the brothers from the Nation of Islam event. Point of the matter is, workers will see workers. All those on the internet and blase, super scholars, fragilistic, expialidocious people, You ain't gonna see them nowhere working. You know what I mean? And so the brother pointed me out in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago. And I had the pleasure and the honor to listen to the brother's story. The story was amazing. The story was amazing because the picture, because as he was telling the story, I seen on a flyer that he had a picture with Eric Holder. And so if y'all know who Eric Holder is, I don't know him, but y'all might know who he is. Anyway, he had a picture with Eric Holder, but he was telling a story that was the total opposite of someone standing next to Eric Holder. And not saying Eric Holder is somebody. I'm just talking about status-wise. But the story didn't match the picture that I had seen. You know what I mean? Peace and love, Jim Walk. Peace and love, Nkosi. Boy, I love you, brother Nkosi, because I mean, I know this is a sidebar. Nkosi, boy, you brought that thing out on that brother. He ain't like that. Peace and love, Moorish Temple of America, Atlanta. But anyway, so what the story was just for oh man, it was fantastic. And I'm a type of guy that get inspired. You know what I mean? Like, to hear the brother's story made me say, man, I got to keep pushing. I got to do a little more. Because the elder. So what's my excuse? Let somebody frustrate me because of a YouTube video. Let somebody frustrate me because they don't hear the message. Nah, we do like Jesus say in the Piscine record, better known as the Holy Bible. We wipe the dust off and go to the next town, which means we take the lesson to those who want to hear the lesson. With that, let me invite my brother in the building, my good brother Elwood Yango Sawyer. Brother Yango Sawyer, are you there, my brother? Okay, hold on one second. Hold on 1 second.
Can you hear me?
Let me make sure the people can hear you. I just put the speaker.
Sir. Let me first of all say, man, I'm honored and I appreciate the fact for me to come on your TV show. I had problems with Hangout, and I apologize for that. But my story is probably like a number of brothers who've been incarcerated, came into the community, not the street, and began to make a difference in the community because they had made a difference in their life. They had went through the whole transformation process. Story is a story of encouragement, inspiration, and scars in the stars. I started jailing at a very early age. I used to run away from home because I come out of an abusive household in terms of my stepfather. Never knew my father. Thought one guy was my father, found out he wasn't, then I thought another guy was, and found out he wasn't, and I come to find out later on my real father had passed. And so I started going to prison, juvenile prisons. I ended up coming home and staying home for about 6 months in adult prison when I was 16 years old for armed robbery along with a number of other individuals. And I was one of the first guys in Washington, D.C. to more than 6 years under the Youth Correctional Act. We were sentenced to 6 months to 9 years, which was under the 5010C. And I was hooked up with a group called the Detroit Ramblers, who were responsible for a lot of robberies in Washington, D.C. I'm a junior high school dropout. I dropped out of school in the 7th grade, educated. I continued to go to jail. I ended up start using drugs in jail, heroin. I used to box because I had a little man's complex. And when I first started going to adult prison, you had to be able to take care of yourself. If not, some other folks were going to take the advantage of you. And so I had made a decision I wasn't going to allow anybody to take the advantage of me. And I began to box so I could make sure that if a person disrespected me, then I knew how to respond and would do some damage to them. This is the kind of mentality I had because of this inferiority complex. And 68, I was introduced. Well, initially, I was a member of the Nation of Islam. And when Brother Malcolm X got killed, I left the nation. And in 1968, I was introduced to the Moorish Temple of America through Brother R. McDowell Bay, Brother Hatchet Bay, Brother Sonny Logan Hill, Brother Wesley Walker Bay, Brother Bunky Belly Bay, Brother Streeter Hill, who became a member of the Parole Commission, a parole board here in D.C., Brother Sonny Logan Hill, who ended up becoming a professor at Lincoln University in Philadelphia. And so these were the individuals who helped me to continue this transformation process. I really didn't understand it at that particular time. And I went back to prison in with Brother McDowell Bay, and I went to Danbury Correctional Facility. And I began to be an activist in prison, protesting prison, and ended up putting together a African study group and had people coming from the outside. And I ended up joining the Black Panther Party in prison. And, we used to do a number of strikes against food, working conditions, etc. Come home in 1970, had never worked before because I sold drugs, used drugs, and I ended up getting a job at a meat cutting place. And ended up being a drug counselor. The guy heard me speak and asked me if I wanted to do I used to do a radio show in Washington, D.C. called Grassroots Approach that used to come on after Peter Green. I don't know if you're familiar with Peter Green or some of the folks who are listening to you, but Peter Green was a guy who was the example we call returning citizens that stated the impossibility of nothing. When I think about impossibility of nothing, I think about a Adidas commercial. And I tell a lot of young people that impossibility is nothing. And I mention Adidas commercial because a lot of them identify with shoes. And so Peter taught me that impossibility was nothing. And Peter was a guy who had a radio show, TV show. He was a community activist. He was an MC. He went to the White House, etc. What happened was, man, I continue to get high. We smoke marijuana all the time, folks. I thought marijuana wasn't a drug, and then I ended up getting back on drugs, particularly. And I got locked up again in 1979, and as a result of getting high. And so in 1982, I come home, went back to jail in 1984. Went back to jail, stayed in the street, went back to jail in 1988, come back out in 1992, went back to jail in 1994, come back out 2004. And during that process, the last 10 years of my incarceration, formation began to become more apparent in terms of where I was. And one of the books that had a tremendous influence in my life, along with a whole number of others, was Vision for a Black Man by Dr. Naeem Akbar. The transformation process in terms of saying that a lot of young black men or black men who were involved in a particular lifestyle was like slimy worms. And the worm he talked about was the worm that ate this particular bark. And he stated that in order for a butterfly to become a butterfly, the worm have to eat certain kinds of bark so that he can evolve out this cocoon. And he talked about the fact that the Moorish Temple of America was like a cocoon, incarceration was like a cocoon, and those kind of organizations that help men develop into righteous men, because a lot of times we have a misconception about what manhood is all about. And we find that Prophet Ali say that we have to be the manifestation of God. And he said that man is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of God. And so when we look at that and look at the transformation process, that's what happened to an individual who began to transform his life. So, I ate this particular kind of book because I read everything I could read, and I used to do that before this 10 years that I'd been incarcerated. But like I stated earlier, it really didn't have an effect on me, but it stayed with me. And so, I began to evolve. I've always been involved in the community. Even when I was in prison, I used to do shows and just want to retrogress. When I was in the community, I used to take a lot of shows in London because what happened was London was like what they call a gladiator school. It was like death traps. And a friend of mine became the superintendent of London. A lot of my friends was in London. And so I began to take shows in Lawton as a part of the calling for a moratorium on death that a number of individuals in Lawton had called. And so I ended up taking Richard Pryor in Lawton, Roy Ayers, Cool in the Gang, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Freddie Cole, a lot of local groups like Chuck Brown, and a whole lot of folks I took in Lawton. And while we were taking them in Lawton, we began to talk about the need for the stopping of violence and for this transformation that I'm talking about now that really didn't have an effect on me then, but I wanted to have an effect on those individuals, man, that I was talking to. And so, Jim, coming back now to like probably 2003, I was doing 21 years, 7 to 21. And I went up for the parole commission, and the guy turned the mic off on me because he knew the work I was doing. He said, man, it's no sense in me turning you loose because you're only going to come back to prison. But he didn't understand my thinking and how I flipped the script. And when we talk about flipping the script, how I changed my life. And so I said, well, I'm not that guy no more. So he said, well, I'm going to leave the decision on the parole commission, because even the parole examiner, so the parole commission sent me a 2-year hit back, and I had a backup, and backup is when you've been in and you still was doing that time, and I had a parole violation one on me. But the other time I would get disturbed and just talk crazy to myself, but this time I was more calmer. And I think I may have been more calmer because there was a guy who was in the joint with me, had just come back from one of the penitentiaries. He was in the yoga, and he taught me yoga. And yoga, instilled something in me that was completely different than all of the things that I'd been involved in. So with the yoga and meditation, and I was active in the Moorish Science Temple of America and Winton, which was the prison I was in. And so with that ingredients, it gave me a whole different perspective. It made me more calmer. And so finally, they give me parole on the 2 years and on the parole violation, and they parole me, and I come home May the 4th, 2004. And I went to a halfway house because I was homeless. And there was a thing that the parole commission had where they would put you in a halfway house for 120 days. Excuse me, for 120 days. And then once you got situated, if you got your house, an apartment, a resident, and you was working, then they would parole you. And so I went to this halfway house, and I ended up knowing a person that had a transition program. So I went to the transition house called Conquest. And, they released me. Halfway released me early, and I ended up calling Brother McDowell Bay, and I said, listen, man, Halfway released me early. I don't have a place to stay. And he said, well, man, come on up here. So I stayed with Brother McDowell Bay for a day and a half. And I never knew that I was homeless. I never thought about the fact I was homeless, but I was homeless for that period of time. And let me just retrogress for a second, because normally when I came home, I would be with my mother, but my mother, she was in a nursing home. She had triple bypass surgery. She was blind. They cut off both her legs. And one of the joys of my life was being able to take care of my mother, because my mother took care of me when I couldn't take care of myself, and when I could take care of myself. So I helped my mother, man, took care of my mother. And one of the most painful moments in my life was when my sister and I had to make the decision to pull the plug on my mother, because she was on a breathing machine. We had to pull the plug, and saw my mother in the casket, man. She had smiles on her face because she was happy longer going through the suffering and the pain that she had been through. I ended up working for DC government for a minute temporarily for a project called Project Isabella, which dealt with the hurricane season. And a good friend of mine, him and I was in prison together in 19. Tyrone Parker, who is one of the founders of the Alliance of Concerned Men, give me a job working with young people in one of the most dangerous areas in the city, which was Ben and Terrace. They call it Simple City. And we had an impact in that particular area. Get to work with young people. Still go through there to check on them young people and see how they're doing. A lot of youngsters I saw grow up. A lot of them went to prison. A lot of them didn't. And those who didn't, I always offer a word of encouragement, like, "Hey, let's survive this right here." And I tell folks all the time, not only my young people, that the best is yet to come, because they have to believe that. They have to believe there's something better tomorrow than it is today. And so, I began to put together my own company. My company is the Movement for Love and Unity. We believe that there's a necessity to practice love in our community, and we have to practice unity. I'm a co-founder of a number of groups. One is called the Job Not Jail Coalition. We've done a lot of demonstrations in the city to employment for men and women, men who are returning back to the community. Because in Washington, D.C., 50% of our population is unemployed. We know that those folks who are listening, and those folks who've been in, we know how important employment is, how important housing is, how important drug treatment is, how important mental health treatment is for those individuals who've been incarcerated, who suffer particularly from drug addiction and mental health issues. And so if you don't have a job, if you don't have a place to stay, then your situation is that it was when you went to prison. Sister Michelle Alexander, who wrote a book called The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration During the Age of Colorblindness, states the person come home from prison, it's much worse than it is when he was incarcerated, because of the opposition that he faced or she faced in terms of employment. Some places, man, you can't live in certain places. I was licensed, you can't go to school. But most of all, you are discriminated against because of prior conviction. Also, we find that there are over 6 million women who can't vote, who are disenfranchised as a result of a criminal history, a result of a criminal conviction. And so those are some of the things that we organized against. Also, I'm one of the co-founders of a group called Returning Citizens United, which brought together a number of individuals who have been incarcerated to put this group together to unite our population. We've done massive voter registration, particularly in 2008 when President Obama was running. We registered close to 8,000 people. We continuously register folks. In fact, normally I got voter registration cards in my van. So if I see somebody I know, if I see some folks hanging out, I park my van and find out if they're a registered voter. Because one of the things I find that is, man, respect a vote. We can talk all we want, but if you ain't voting it really don't make a difference to them because they respect the vote. I'm part of a group in Washington, D.C. that was founded by a sister named Denise Denise Rollard Barnes, whose father was Dr. Calvin Rollard, the founder of the United Black Fund, and it's called the Dr. Martin Luther King Peace Walk and Parade Coalition. And there's a number of folks who come together in this city to honor Dr. King every year for his birthday. And it's one of the few in D.C. where folks come from throughout the city, come to the Southeast, Ward 8, who a number of folks, man, look down on and you know, say, man, Ward 8 ain't, you know. And we bring folks in from not only from the city, but the surrounding area to participate in this walk. Each year, our theme is whatever may be happening in the community. And we do that theme so that folks can begin to embed this in their minds so that they can continue to participate in a process of eliminating certain conditions in our community. Involved again in a number of events that take place. Some folks say I'm a cancer survivor.
Hey, Brother Sawyer, let me just give the people a recap. What we talking to is my good brother Elwood Yango Sawyer. He's telling us about his experience in the, I guess you would call it, the hells of Washington, D.C. From a youth into an adult, but he reversed the process of the experience of the hells of the streets of Washington, D.C. He expressed to us how he went from the juvenile centers to the adult prison system, to being addicted to drugs, being an activist in prison, to coming out and being an activist. Brother, before we get into the health, brother, if you don't mind, my brother, because you're my elder, my brother, so I just want to make sure that we do everything on the court. Brother, how old are you?
Well, again, my brother, you know, like I said, some folks say I'm a cancer survivor. A couple years ago, man, I almost from cancer, man. I was in Florida, fell out in a hotel room in the bathroom. The people who was in Florida with me checked me out and found me, man. They rushed me to the hospital. When I woke up, I had IVs throughout me, and you know, the doctor said, man, we had almost lost you, Mr. Sawyer. What had happened was my prostate had swollen to the point of where I couldn't urine, and the urine had backed up into my bladder, and my bladder got infected. My liver had almost shut down on me. Got treatment around the clock for that, and ended up surviving. Then I come to Washington, D.C., come back home to Washington Hospital Center. I had, again, my bladder was infected. Again, you know, they ended up bringing me back around. The last time, you know, because the cancer is spread it from the prostate. And it spread it to my liver, my lungs, under my left armpit, my left rib cage, and in my pelvis area. I went to Johns Hopkins and took a friend of mine, Miss Edie Whittington, who was the former city councilwoman for Ward 8, who was one of my best friends, and then Dr. Paula, who is one of the best doctors in the world in terms of cancer. And so she said, well, Mr. Sawyer, man, the thing I would like to do is just recommend that you do chemotherapy, see how they work. And so I talked to my good friend. She said, well, let's see. I did one treatment of chemotherapy, and I started chemotherapy one. I went back about 4 days later. Shape. My temperature was 102. The people there who knew me from coming in said, Mr. Sawyer, what's wrong? I said, I think it's the reaction from the chemo. They said, no, put me in the hospital. Come to find out my white blood cells was a 5 with a life-threatening blood infection. Again, it worked around the clock for me. And it was a result of the chemotherapy. And so, I've been getting treatment at Howard University. Before that, I was getting a shot every night a day, hormone therapy. I don't know if you're familiar with the PSA, or folks who are listening are familiar with the PSA, but my PSA was 200 when it should have been 0 point something, And so I'm a living miracle, and I encourage folks. I tell folks this here, that cancer don't have me, I have cancer, which means that I'm on top of my situation in terms of what I eat, how I think, and so I encourage folks, like I said, I try to be an example for other folks. I tell other folks, man, who are doing real well, because there are a number of folks I know that are doing extremely well, who have been in prison, who have been victims of drugs, people who got PhDs. A buddy of mine named Arthur Rico Rush, who is one of the baddest guys in the world in terms of the addiction situation. He's been all over the world, at one point made sleeping streets, abandoned cars, so there are a number of examples for miracles. And I tell folks that we must be the power of example, just like you are, more. You're an example for other folks. We call it the power of example. It's the God-given power that we've been birthed with.
So Brother Sawyer,
there is this empowerment that Allah has placed in our lives. And Michelle Alexander tells us this here. She said, and this includes you more, she said that the folks who do this work in our community, the folks who do the work through the Moorish Scientific America, has been chosen. Everybody don't do the work. Everybody don't have courage to do the work. It takes courage to speak out about something. It takes courage to promote the teachers of Prophet Noah Drew Ali. It takes courage to promote any teachers about a change in our community. Because change, a lot of times people say change is inevitable. And it may be inevitable, but we talk about the kind of change you and our community a better place. And I tell folks that I just want to leave Allah's creation better than I found it. I don't do as much as I used to do, because a lot of times, man, I'm on cruise control because of my health. Some days, man, are greater than others, but work to the last breath. When the last breath is taken from me by Allah, I want Allah to tell me, say, man, work well done, man. You made a difference.
Brother Yango.
Our community. Yes, sir.
Brother Yango. Let me rewind a bit. How old are you, my brother?
Ageless, my brother.
Okay. The reason why I asked, brother, because I seen you the last time I seen you, and brother, your experience is like, it's just a wealth of experience. And I'm like, man, I wonder how old this brother is, because this brother talking about the 60s, and it doesn't make a difference.
When I say ageless, it's because a lot of times, man, folks share your age, they begin to discriminate against.
Oh, no, not me. I love the wisdom behind what you give, and I'm saying that you went back.
I'm 74 years old,
brother, and you're looking good, bro. I ain't no punk or no sissy. Okay, brother.
Prison saved my life, and man, it's the way I'm thinking. See, because like I said, Prophet Noah Drew Ali said that we're ageless.
That's right.
He tell us, he said, man, if you can put a date on creation when it was come, then you can put a date on man.
Hey, brother.
We're ageless.
Hey, brother.
You know the soul, we are a spirit and a part of Allah.
Hey, brother Yango, a brother in the chat room just said ageless. Time never was. Yes, indeed, my brother. So my brother, can you give us an idea? Say something at the demonstration in D.C. about how much time you spent in prison. How much time you think you spent going back and forth to prison, my brother?
Well, I spent probably close to 34 years in prison. My half of but I wasn't in prison during my early life, except for the time now I got high. So I come out of the streets of Washington D.C. The streets, the streets have raised me also. You know, I mean, like with Brother McDowell Bay and them, man, I learned how to play con. I don't know if you know about con, but we used to trick Europeans out of their money. Under the pretense we had a woman for them.
Right.
You know, and so I come out of the streets, I used to sell drugs, come out of the streets. Initially, when I was a youngster, I did robbery, but then I come to find out, and this right here was through Prophet Noah Ali and the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the value of our people. Because I didn't want to hurt my girl, even though I sold drugs.
Hey, Brother Yango.
But when I looked at robbery, robbery was a dangerous situation in terms of our people, man, and it wasn't one that I wanted to continue to be involved.
Hey, Brother Yango, during the 80s, because we hear a lot of people, they brag on this thing. I'm an 80s baby. I'm an 80s baby. All of this stuff. During the 80s and the crack epidemic, can you paint a picture what was DC like during that time, the Rayful Evans times, and when crack hit in DC, just to give people an idea what you were up against?
Say that again, Mo.
I said we got a generation now that will brag real fast and say, I'm an 80s baby. I'm an 80s baby. Back in the 80s when the crack hit.
Well, more, see, I lived the crack age also. But not only did I get off of heroin, man, I smoked crack, smoke coke, smoke lovely, waggy weed, angel dust, etc. I'm fortunate, man. Allah blessed me with me being able to move beyond that. And when we look at young people today, see, one of the things is that, and when you were coming up, even though, man, I didn't follow it down from him, but I had a stepfather in my life, even though he was abusive, he used to whoop me. My mama was a domestic worker. She used to ride the line going up 16th Street along with a lot of other African American women or Moorish women, going to clean European floors. Today we don't have that kind of structure because most of young men really run the household because their mothers work from KC in the morning to KC at night. Come home, they're tired. The other thing, man, that was of great benefit to families back then was that we used to sit down and eat together. I don't care what the situation was, that I come out of a family of 6 brothers and 1 sister. Dinner table. But all of us got at that table to find out what was happening during the day. What did you do? What's your grade? What do your grades look like? So that does not happen today. We find many young kids 2 and 3 years old. It's at 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And so one of the things, man, that I think that we have to do, my brother, is we have to begin the process of changing the thinking. A brother named Dr. Thurman Evans, who was the president of the school board here in Washington, D.C., he said, if you can change your mind, you can change the time. We can change the thinking in our community. We can change the activity that takes place in our community. The illegal activity, the murder that takes place in our community. Because see, Prophet Noah say, love thyself and thy Father God Allah. If I love me, then I love you. And if we practice love in our community, then things will change. I mean, like some communities, where we watch young people grow up, and when they reach a certain, and we watch young people grow up, and when we see them, man, how you doing? We going to school? Well, okay, bye. Now, all right, go on to school. How's Miss so and so and so and so? When they get older, that disappears. We see young people stand on the corner with guys, man, who passing joints to them, passing beer to them, etc. We no longer speak to them. And the reason why is because the media has portrayed young sisters in our community as being something that would do harm to them. I found out this here, that most young people in our community only want to do, man, is receive some love. You know, and so we have an obligation and a duty to promote that in our community. I think when I talked about the fact that Prophet would draw out and slay the big flopping birds and brought civilization in. And so that's the same kind of attitude that the Moors have to have today and other conscious brothers have to have. We got some brothers who are doing great work in terms of eliminating violence in our community, but we need more brothers who can stand on the corners and just talk to brothers and encourage them. There's a brother by the name of NYL, Andrew Smithfield, who works for DOES, and he's made tremendous difference in young people's lives in terms of employment. But providing some information that will allow them to understand the situation today and what's important. Like telling them, listen, man, if you make one bad decision, it may cost you your life, or it may cost you the rest of your life in prison. That's why, you know, we talk about what a brother by the name of Eugene Brown, who say, man, think before you move. A move was made about starring the brother Cuban Goodwin. And so we tell him, listen, man, you gotta think before you move. We just lost a brother, man. I tried to help out of a place in Washington D.C. called Bennett Park. Man, they just killed him 4-5 days ago. We did everything we possibly could, along with a brother named Brother Cooper, with everything that we possibly could to get this brother engaged, to get him some meaningful employment, etc. But he would always say, man, okay, man, I'll be back. Never came back. Now, you know, his family's getting ready to burn, you know, as a result of possibly a bad decision, or he might have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know. So in order for us to have an impact on young people's lives, we have to become engaged with it, and we have to start early. I think that when we begin to instill self-esteem, self-respect, and identity in terms of who you are and your love for self, it begins to internalize and become a part of every part. Become a part of every part. They can never lose it. You know, can never lose it. So that, you know, one of the keys to what we do in terms of making a difference in our community. When the brothers see the Moors in our community, you know, and I, you know, when brothers, man, was introducing themselves, all of them was engaged in something around the country.
Yes.
And so I'm almost certain, man, when the brothers see the Moors, they see something different.
Yes.
And who are the people with the fans on it? What kind of head is that?
Hey,
so once the brother began to break it down to us in terms of what it is and who he is and what young people need to do, man, in order to make a difference. But let me also say, young people, man, are doing real well in our community. I just read where a sister graduated from college before she graduated in high school. Some triplets just got accepted to Harvard University. You know, and a whole number of other folks. You know, sisters who are doctors, brothers who are doctors. Here in Washington D.C., the whole senior class of Ballou High School applied for college.
Hmm.
You know, and so we're talking about some folks, man, who can be an example for other young folks because young people can relate to each other, and they
Exactly.
can relate to me. You
Exactly.
know, even though I give them a spiel in terms of who they are and what they should be doing, but there's a difference in my giving them a spiel and an 18-year-old who's doing something different in the community giving them a spiel because they can relate to that 18-year-old.
And brother,
You know,
with that, I want y'all to know that what the brother just says goes in line with I want to promote is my brother. He said the young brothers will or young sisters will support one another and they will listen to one another. But as they support and listen to one another, it's imperative that we also support them. So right here is the Young People Moorish Retreat that's happening in June the 23rd to the 25th in Detroit, Michigan. This is J. Fuqua, the elder Fuqua son. This is the first annual Young People Moorish Retreat. Look, take this down. The email is ypmnitretreat@gmail.com. Email that brother. You can also reach his phone at 312-520-3529. Call that brother. Send that young brother $5 or $10. Help that brother out. Help him organize. Inspire him to keep moving on. There's plenty more Americans that came out of prison, that came out of households that were inspired. But without the proper support and backing, they lose inspiration and they lose confidence. They can only maintain that confidence if we, those who say we believe, get behind their endeavors and help push them forward. We keep looking at all of these people with L's and B's, whether they in the sports, whether they are in, I'm talking about professional sports that's in Hollywood with L's and B's and don't have a clue what it means. Not a clue. That means that somewhere along the way, they lost a confidence and they just went another way. The only way our children is going to stay on the grind and stay focused as it relates to keeping that walking the straight and narrow and helping one another, we must get behind and support them. Again, you can reach my brother, J. Fuqua. This is the younger Fuqua. 312-520-3529. You also, if you go to his Facebook page, you can get his GoFundMe. I don't have the link at the moment, but the brother just brought that to my attention when he talked about the young people. So it's imperative that I share this with you. Please support this young brother and his endeavor. Young People Moorish Retreat in Detroit. All right, Brother Yango. What you was saying, my brother?
Can I just say one other thing, please?
Yeah, sure, my brother. The floor is yours, brother.
Let's say supposing brothers converge on Baltimore, Maryland. We say, man, we need 5,000 brothers to come to Baltimore because of the assassination that's taking place in Baltimore by us. So let's say we need 10,000 brothers to go to Chicago and just stand on corners and say, listen, man, enough is enough. Look at the impact we would have, particularly the people who are now running the country. We got Jeff Sessions, who's the Attorney General, who is talking about putting more police in the street. We got the 45th, who's talking about sending National Guards to Chicago, but that we need to know how to do and understand the need to do is police in our own community. Be shown in our community. In Washington, D.C., when the school first started, a number of brothers, man, was there welcoming young brothers in school to show, man, listen, man, we love you, man. This is what we want for you, man. We're so proud of you. Offer encouragement. A lot of times, man, we do not offer young people encouragement. But what they do, everybody want to know how you feel about them. If you see a person and you say, man, y'all look nice today, how do you think that person would feel about themselves just as a result of that compliment? And that there is, again, the need to spread love. Prophet Noble Drew Ali say that love is the savior of the world because Allah is love. And that's powerful. And that's something, man, folks don't preach. Folks don't preach about love.
Islam, brother, Islam. Our family. Let me make another drop, my brother, because you're hitting on all my points, brother, about standing on the streets. On 5/11, let me write it in this chat. See, I'm on the chat too. I'm talking to brothers and sisters in the chat too. So let me share this with them. 5/11/2017. If you are in the Baltimore area, to please contact me at taharkabay@yahoo.com. I'm actually going to put all this in the bottom chat. We are creating First American Street Team. Our first meeting will be on the 17th. It's going to be held at 2317 Maryland Avenue. Now, listen, we always hear about the talkers. Always hear about the talkers talking. We are putting together, and we is me at this point. I got the elder Prather L. He's going to help me out. And a few other people are going to help me out. We're putting together the Moorish American Street Team, where we will go and just plain simple talk to the people and be able to relate to the people and help the people, direct them to resources, whether it be the Moorish Science Temple of America or other resources. It's the Moorish American Street Team. I hope that y'all contact me in the Baltimore area, because if not, I'm throwing you under the bus as a talker. Now back to my brother Yango. Brother Yango, I'm holding him to the task, brother. Brother, when you see me in Annapolis and then see me in DC, brother, you know you inspired me, brother, that you can pick me out in the crowd and say you see me somewhere, and I see you and I say, man, this brother got a story. So, brother, I want you to continue to doing what you're doing. But one of my questions is, how did
I mean, like, it's the work that we need to do. It's the work that Allah has ordained us to do. It's just like the work you do, more. Ordained you to do that work, man. You heard the phone rung. You picked the phone up and answered the call.
It's loud.
And so that was it, man. I answered the call. I mean, I'm not. I don't drink. I don't get high. Example. I want when people say, man, you just say, no, I don't drink. I tell them why. Because I want to be an example, man. In liquor stores. Deadly enemies we have in our community.
Islam.
And a lot of brothers who are involved in our community, man, do a lot of drinking. And I don't know if it's to numb the pain. A lot of people say socialize, But when we look at who's taking the money out of our community in terms of alcohol, Ethiopians, very few of us at one time it was the Jews. So I mean, we look at those folks, man, who poison our community. And one time, man, when we looked at Snoop Dogg, The other synthetic marijuana, man, it was pushed in our community by foreigners. You know, so I mean, you know, these are the types of things, man, that we need to address, and once we address them, to begin to tell folks the reason why, you know, this right here is a danger to our community and to their health.
Yes, sir, my brother. And this is the thing. We experience, especially you, my brother, you got a wealth of experience, brother. And so I need you to be on that front or on the back line, all around the line, brother, because I seen you in a picture with Eric Holder. How did you go? I was thinking of a title for this. And no,
hey, man, let me tell you this. That was a product of the guy Tyrone Parker that I'm talking
about. Hold up, brother. Hold up, brother Yango. The brother, to me, now listen. I don't get starstruck. I don't get anything like that. But we're talking about a brother that he said this, quote unquote. He did over 30 years in prison on an installment plan. He told us that he has used heroin, he has used crack. Now, besides, put all that aside, he has uplifted people. He has brought people to prison to entertain people, to make their time a little bit easier. He was an activist in prison, but he comes from a world where the security clearance alone to be next to an Eric Holder is a tag. You know, people probably was watching them and everything, whatever the case. How did you get from that point? And you can tell us the story now, from the point where you are to standing next to somebody like Eric Holder.
You know what, no more? I mean, the kicker was, it was a guy, man, that he was a judge in D.C. when I was cutting up. You know, he was the attorney general. You know, and I had an opportunity, man, to take a picture with him, man, and he wrapped his arms around me, you know, and I was, you know what I mean, because Tyrone and Brother Eric Holden are real close, and so Tyrone made it possible, man, for a number of us to go up in there, because not only was Brother Eric Holden with the Attorney General, but he was doing work in the community folks didn't even know about.
Woo! Hey, brother, that's powerful. That's powerful, because we got, listen to this, my brothers, brother Yango. We got brothers on the internet, right? And they do all this crazy stuff, drive without a license, right to travel. You may have heard of it. All of this, redemption stuff. You can sell your birth certificate stuff, and they think that's civics. Brother, what you're doing is civics. You are rubbing elbows with those who have the ability to affect the change. And so you affect the change by getting close to those who can affect the change. Brother, that's civics.
Well, you know, like I said, man, and I tell you something else more. Another great moment was mine was when I took a picture with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes.
You know, and man, this guy, man, embraced me. You know what I mean? And I just think about, you know, where I came from.
Yes, brother. Yes.
I hang out sometimes with the mayor of D.C. I'm friends with a lot of the city council individuals who know my history, because I talk about it all the time, man. It's not something.
Brother, come on, brother. Brother, this is what Prophet Noble Drive. Brother, let me tell you something. I heard you in D.C. say, you know, I don't go to the temple, but you acknowledge who you are. But brother, what you doing?
Let me say this to you also, Mo. I remember, man, when I first, not formally, but it was at a program Brother Troy X. Stanberg did out in Anacostia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he acknowledged you. And I say, man, there go a more man who's hooked up with the Nation of Islam. You know, and it's a reflection of the kind of unity we need in our community, man, because I got the utmost respect for Brother Troy X. We were in prison together.
And Brother Yango, you know what? I didn't even report that on the show. It's work that I be doing in the community. I don't even report. Y'all don't, because it ain't even about that all the time. But brother, I'm telling you, we, like you said, we need to have that unity. I got tons of pictures where every time there's an event, the brother called me, and we work together all the time, brother, because we are one. We are the children of one Father. provided for by his care and the breast of one mother has given ye suck. And if we can understand that line right there, those two lines right there, brother, we can truly make a difference in our community, brother.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I think more, you know, because sometimes, man, I reflect on the teachers of Prophet Noble Drew Ali when he said victory is sure.
Yes.
Allah is leading. He said Allah is leading and victory is sure. So we know, man, we're going to win.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just a matter of how long. You know what I mean? Brother Dr. Martin Luther King said, how long? He said, not long. You know what I mean? And so, you know, we're going to win. That's why I tell folks, man, I'm in it to win it. And then I say, we're in it to win it. Because we're in life, man, to win, not to lose. A number of us, man, have lost for so long, but now we're winning. And so, you know, I tell folks this also, man, that as a people, we overcame the Middle Passage. We overcame slavery, physical slavery, but some of us still are mental slaves. We overcame Ronald Reagan, Brad Goldwater, Richard Nixon. And so, you know, now we got Donald Trump. That's why it's important for us to begin to do for self. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to put together a import business where with my daughter called Umoja Import. You know, we have in China. We want to do a contract in Africa, and we want to begin to import goods that the market is selling to our people that's inferior and overpricing. And so, you know, we need to do for ourselves. You know, I mean, we need to do what a guy, man, in Japan, he built a company, and so they asked him, man, how long do you expect for your company to survive? He said, well, man, at a minimum of 150 years. And so our company have to be like pyramids. You know, it had to be built to last.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I want to do with my daughter, so I can leave something here for my daughter, man, and my two grandsons who you met. So my daughter and my grandsons at the Unity Festival. So you know, that's where I'm at. You know, I'm self-employed. I'm an entrepreneur. 4 or 5 days a week, man. I'm down at the African American Museum. I'm good because our community.
That's right, my brother.
There are a number of folks down there that are working self-employed, selling T-shirts and other items.
Brother, we on the close of the show, brother. I appreciate you. Know you're welcome. I would love to do something with you real soon, this summer maybe. Brother, bring you. I want to do something in D.C. You know, I want to bring a couple of speakers to D.C., brother, and it'd be an honor to bring you to the stage with us, brother. Because I'm telling you, your story is amazing. It's amazing that you can go from, and we hear these stories all the time, but to know someone that actually can look you in your face. See, a lot of times after we accomplish some things, we want to bury them stories. You know what I'm saying? Little do we know that's them vain people, but look at with their ego. But little do we know is those experiences, all the experiences that help to get someone else over the top. Because when I heard you talking, what it did for me, you got to keep pushing. You still got some work to do, which I wasn't even thinking about stopping the work, but just the boost that it gave me made it to even stop, calm down, and listen. Because I like talk a lot too.
Yes, sir.
So, brother,
like I said earlier, more breath. You know, to the last breath, that I want to go out, man, making a difference in somebody's life and making a difference in the Lord's creation. So it's to the last breath. And that's when I'll stop the struggle that I'm involved in.
Praise the Lord, brother. And I'm inspired and I'm dedicated just like that, brother. And I'm telling you, I'm in it to the end. But when I hear your story and stories like yours, then give me more push, more push that it's gonna be all right. You know what I mean? And then at the age, we're in the age of technology. We're in this electrified age, as the Prophet Obadiah Ali spoke about. In this electrified age, man, we got all these guys and fake conscious guys and all these things going on through the wire of the internet. Good, all the good is just set aside on the internet. All of that. The reason why I wanted you to come on here is so people can see that brothers such as yourself there have been out there, turned it all around, that the work that needs to be done is not really on the internet. This is the bridge to get to the people, to show the people that it's possible to do something better than what you have been doing. And so that's why I wanted your story to come on, my brother, because hopefully.
Again, I appreciate it. I think, man, we have to use the social media to get our word, to get the word out.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
And who are connected to the social media, and we have to fight our revolution on all fronts. And revolution is nothing but about change.
That's it. That's it.
So, and so we have to use opportunity to continue to educate our people, man. I'm in a group that was founded by a sister. Her last name is Gombe. All eyes on Africa, and you know, man, nothing but information about us is in this group. I'm one of the administrators. The administrator is one of those folks who would join the group. I want to tap you in on my Facebook page, man, to join this group so you can see what's happening with her. She's a Moor. Her whole family are Moorish.
See the link, and I'm definitely going to join.
I will, man. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Yes, send me the link, my brother. And I want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to throw a few more advertisers. Any departing words, my brother?
My brother, again, man, I'm honored.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I appreciate you for allowing me the opportunity, you know, just to share my hope and inspiration to some folks, you know, and, you know, keep doing what you're doing. And, man, victory is sure because Allah is leading, you know, and for the folks who don't know who Allah is, God is leading our struggle. God is leading our victory. You know, and so again, we may not know how long it's going to take, but we know one thing. We got to think like winners. We got to think. We can't think like losers. As my man Chuck Brown said, he said, whatever you do,
big or small,
do it well or don't do it at all. To show you right.
And we're going to stop it right there, brother. Whatever you do, big or small, don't do it at all.
That's right.
Thank
you. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you. I love you, man. I love all the folks who doing it in. I know we got 1 million listeners from all over the world.
That's brother. Peace and love, and I love you back, and I'll talk to you soon.
Brother, keep in contact with me.
My brother.
All right, peace and blessings to you.
Peace and love. So, family, that y'all need to share this, man. That's right there was the short version of the story. The next time I get to DC, I'm gonna sit down and interview the brother. That is an amazing story, and that's just the short version. You know, I like the brother to talk. I'm one of them guys that just like to listen sometimes. You know what I mean? That's why I would sit back, I listen, and I like people just to flow. I used to go. Me and my cousin used to go and sit on the porch and just listen to my grandmother. Like, I got an interview with my grandmother talking about her being chased by the, you know what I mean, back in the day. You know what I mean? I like to just listen. And you know what I mean? Because the wisdom is priceless. It's priceless. So, family, if we in the chat, on Facebook. Let's make ourselves useful in our community. Ask yourself, what more can I do? You know what I mean? Sometimes, like these shows right here, these shows might go 400 to 500 views, and then they just blank out. They just flatline, because we love excitement, we love drama, we love foolishness, but we don't like to be inspired. We like to be excited. We love excitement. If I put on here Elwood Yango Sawyer debates Tahaka Bay, man, the chat room would be 300 strong. They don't know who Elwood Yango Sawyer is. But that's just how people is. So I ask that you share this. We even got people that are they're so wild that we got 2 thumbs down. We're gonna get 2 thumbs down with a show like this. You see. So I encourage you to put a thumbs up, because I don't know why. I don't know why they mad at Tahaka Bay. Tahaka Bay just want to do the work. But with that, I want to share this with y'all again. To let y'all know, man, I want y'all to, if y'all can support the brother, I want y'all to support the brother and look out, man. Help us out, man. Help us to help us. Here we go. Here to the workers. Here to the workers.
Notice the cause of it all on the soul plane. Our heritage and our state is what we look to gain. Come from a perfect source, why should we ever complain? If we don't save ourselves, then we ain't getting saved. Notice the cause of it all. Don't notice the cause of it all. Don't notice the cause of it all. Don't notice the cause of it all. Welcome to the plane of souls, where the vibration slow. Man carry many ages till we overcome his foes. Gain strength on these dark roads. Once was told there's no hope, so he must be what he knows. The more he knows, the more he's sure to grow. Out of the dark into the